We are live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And before we get into today's recap of Pistons versus Pacers, I want to give you all a quick reminder that you can share our YouTube channel. If you're a fan of Revved Up 906 or a subscriber or just a viewer, you can press the share button below this video, and there's multiple platforms that you can share us on: Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, so on and so forth. And you can pick whichever one you prefer and share the Revved Up 906 YouTube channel, because we are looking to grow. And if you like us, we also want to share our thoughts and words with Michigan and just overall NBA fans. So make sure to spread word about Revved Up 906. Also, our new episode number 18 is out. And this week, we draft our all-time Piston lineups. Just a quick sneak peek. The clip came out earlier this week. With the first pick, I take Isaiah Thomas. With the second pick, at point guard, Ryan takes Dave Bing. So make sure to tune in to that video and make sure to like that, because we do our whole starting lineup, our sixth man, and then also our coach. So we really enjoyed that episode. It kind of shows a little bit more of a comedic side and kind of like loud side of your boys, because typically we're pretty serious, getting deep diving into the statistics, talking about the hard topics about the Detroit Pistons. So make sure to tune into that, because it's a little bit more, if you're a little bit more into the energy side of us, tune into that video, because that's a fun one. Oh, yeah. Without further ado, let's talk about tonight's matchup of Pistons versus the Indiana Pacers. That final score was 117-97. The Pistons end an 11 game losing streak, which was great because those 11 games were pretty brutal. Tonight was 3-1-3 night, and Ryan, in honor of the Detroit style, is buffed up tonight. Ryan, those are some wild shades. Why did you pick out that orange yellowish tint? I like them, but you know what made you choose those?
I mean, they were just sitting on the shelf and I saw them. I'm like, you know what? Those are the ones.
I love them. I mean, when you hopped on Zoom, I'm like, oh, okay, Ryan, I see you. You were talking about how you wore them in Hawaii and got quite a few compliments. So Ryan was repping the 3-1-3 style all the way in Hawaii. So we love the 3-1-3 style. But to get in today's recap of Pistons versus Pacers, the Pistons defense, I kind of called out the Pistons last recap and talked about how soft their defense was. I was really tough on the Pistons, and it seems like they maybe heard what I said, because
I don't think so.
Yeah, but they answered the call, though. I mean, they did. I mean, the odds are, I mean, they came out tonight and got the first 6.5 minutes of the third quarter, the Pistons only allowed 6 points. Tonight, the Pistons forced two 24-second turnovers, and they kept the Indiana Pacers to only 97 points in 4 quarters, which isn't the typical in today's NBA. What did you kind of see from the Pistons defense? Is that kind of a look at what might be in store in the future for the Pistons defense?
Maybe. We played great tonight on defense, but I want to point out a couple key guys in that. Eugene Umarui was a big role in that. Yeah. Killian was a big role in that. Magruder was a big role in that. And then RJ Hampton was a big role in that.
Yep.
Those 3 guys specifically. Just in the sense of Eugene, I loved what he said going into halftime. Mm-hmm. He just wants to be the guy that helps facilitate and be the leader and brings energy. I love that out of him. And he works his tail off. He had 3 steals tonight. He definitely had more of a defensive presence than what you see in the box score. Same with Rodney Magruder. There was the point where you're down on the corner and he literally just swipes the ball and then they're off in the running. And then you have RJ Hampton. He was just doing his thing. Yeah, he didn't have a recorded steal or a recorded block, but he was there. And so when you have 3 guys like them, who RJ Hampton still has a really high ceiling. Eugene is more of a good role player on any team. And then Killian obviously has a high ceiling still. But then Rodney Magruder, he's gonna be your average role bench player. So, but when you have all four of those guys really working their tails off and you're seeing it, those are four key guys and why our defense was what it was tonight.
Yeah, and Eugene, Omo Yuri. I'm gonna get it eventually.
I'm a Rui.
I'm a Rui.
I'll get it eventually. Well, I know that he's going to be good enough where I'll have to know his last name. That's all I have to say. Is I also think he's a beast. One day I will know his name, just like Giannis Antetokounmpo. A lot of people 10 years ago couldn't pronounce his name.
No.
Look at him now. So, I know I'll learn it eventually. But the Pistons also kept the Indiana Pacers to only shooting 29% from the three-point line, which is terrific. But with Eugene, number 97, I'll refer to him for now, is he also had 2 charging calls tonight.
Yeah.
2 offensive fouls he got tonight. So, you're not going to see that in the box score. You're going to see his 3 steals, but you also have to make note of that because that also is a big momentum changer. Whenever somebody can get an offensive foul on the opposing team, that is a huge momentum getter. We see that so much against the Pistons. We see a Killian, or we saw an RJ Hampton get a charge against him tonight. That was a big momentum changer for the Indiana Pacers to start to try to get it within a normal amount of points, get it within 20. So there's those little things. And I love your mention of RJ Hampton because yes, box score, if someone didn't watch the game and they're just looking at the box score of tonight's game, they say, ooh, the Pistons won tonight's game. And they're looking at the box score. They're going to see RJ Hampton have a solid night offensively, but defensively, it's kind of underrated what he did tonight because I really love his defending style. He's so long. He's in your face. He tends to press a lot also, which I really enjoy watching the press. I mean, it's just so fun to watch. But we got to make mention of RJ Hampton's overall stat line: 15 points, 5 of 8 shooting, 3 for 3 from the 3-point line, 6 rebounds on only 24 minutes. Now, that is a stat sheet stuffer as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, RJ Hampton has slowly been building game after game after game where it's like there's an improvement every single night. Whereas you didn't really see this in Orlando because they're very guard heavy there. You didn't see this with him in Denver because, again, they were very guard heavy when he was there. And so he's finally, okay, we're pretty guard heavy too, but we also allow guys to get playing time. Whereas Orlando, they're not going to allow RJ Hampton to get that much playing time. Denver's not going to allow them to get that much playing time. But we're in a process of a rebuild. But Casey is also the guy that loves giving players minutes. And so when you have a player like RJ Hampton, who still has an incredibly high ceiling and is still really young, and you have a coach with Dwayne Casey who loves developing guys and giving guys opportunities, RJ Hampton fits that mold perfectly, and he's going to get playing time, especially if he's playing good. And every game he's played in as a Piston is just getting better each and every time out there.
Yeah, one thing to note too, in the last matchup of Pistons versus Pacers, the Pistons got out-rebounded by 17. Tonight, they out-rebounded the Pacers by 10. So it's a great thing to see 2 days of practice with Dwayne Casey at the helm, in the locker room, on the court, coaching up these young guys, and these young guys proving they can listen to a game plan. I talked about that in the last recap, how the Pistons always play their best basketball in the third quarter. Why is that? Because they're getting coached up at halftime and they know how to follow a game plan. Now, in the fourth quarter, we see them fall apart at times. So we're going to have to hone in on that focus. But that's going to happen with young teams. I talked about it a little bit in the last recap, cutting to the basket and it being very successful for the Detroit Pistons. We saw that again tonight with Eugene, RJ Hampton. Rodney Magruder is a notably really good cutter to the basket. And the announcers and us haven't really given much credit tonight to Killian Hayes, but I loved his stat line tonight. And he proved again tonight that he's the quarterback of the offense. He can throw those Hail Marys to those cutting players. Killian Hayes' final stat line tonight was 10 points, 11 assists, 4 of 11 shooting. But with finishing with 10 points and 11 assists, his bad shooting didn't translate to his impact on the game, which is terrific to see from him, because a lot of times we see him start out flat and then not impact the game the rest of the 3 quarters. But tonight didn't matter if he started the game rough with his shooting, he still made an impact. And that's growth from Killian Hayes. And I love to see that.
Yeah, this is actually his first back-to-back double-double of his career. So the other night against the Pacers finished with a double-double, and then tonight finished with a double-double. And you could tell once he hit that final shot to get the double-double tonight, you saw him running back smiling. You knew, and we all knew, he's like, yes, I did it. I got it. My confidence just boosted up so much higher than it normally would be. And that is great to see, because we see times where his confidence is very low, and then it ends up negatively impacting us. Because when he is in that slump, we see our guys kind of fall down to his slump. But when you see him trotting back with a smile, everybody's like, oh, he's in it. We're in it. We're going to do this. And I loved seeing that out of Killian. He had a great game, even though his shooting may not be as high as other guys. I don't care about that.
No.
He doesn't need to go out there and drop 20 a night like he had earlier in the season. I am perfectly fine with a double-double. If he's getting 10 points, 11 assists, I'm perfectly fine with that, because I love seeing guys that pass the ball, and Killian does that. He is a very unselfish player, and that's just perfect for this team, given our big situation with James Wiseman, Jalen Duren, etc. And so when you have Killian just doing his thing, being a facilitator like he actually wants to be, not necessarily a scorer, because facilitating just comes firsthand to him. So when he's out there and he's able to do that, you can tell he's happy, and you can tell the team is just so much more energized.
Now, a lot of guys had big games tonight, but James Wiseman, people, 18 points, only 2 personal fouls, but 14 rebounds on 8 of 15 shooting in only 24 minutes. Ryan, how ecstatic are you with that stat line? Because I know your boy is fired up.
Hey, I said this about RJ Hampton, and I'm saying this about James Wiseman. Every single game, even Eugene Umarui, I'm throwing Eugene in this conversation, but every single game as a Piston that they've had post All-Star break, obviously, but every single game they've had as a Piston, they just keep getting better and better and better. And we saw that with James Wiseman tonight, having a high-end double-double, which is fantastic. He also had the 3 blocks, which is amazing. I like that. He needs to be that for us. He was a great defensive anchor for us. And then the 2 fouls and only 2 turnovers. I love that out of him, because at times early on, you could tell he was struggling with foul trouble and turning the ball over a lot. But now that he's getting comfortable and is knowing the teammates and the offense, you can tell he's starting to get in his groove, and he's starting to become the player that everybody thought he was supposed to be. And this just, it excites me, because when you have James Wiseman and RJ Hampton, who are supposed to be top of their class, legit prospects and everything, and start off slow in their careers, and now find a home in Detroit, and they're starting to do their thing like everybody thought they would what they were supposed to do early on. This is perfect for us, given how much young talent that's untapped, and that's just perfect for us.
Yeah. The other thing too is, yes, the injury issues for the Pistons as of late can be frustrating. But if you look at it as these injuries are only giving minutes at the end of the season to guys like RJ Hampton, Eugene, and James Wiseman, because we know if Isaiah Stewart was in right now, that only takes away minutes from James Wiseman. And if Alec Burks and Hamidou Diallo are healthy, that only takes minutes and longevity minutes away from RJ Hampton. And if Bojan Bogdanovic is playing right now, which we know what he can bring to the table, we know he can give us 25 points a night. But now with him out, that gives Eugene an opportunity to step up and to show what he's got. And also guys like Buddy Boeheim. Yes, he didn't have a great game tonight, but we're able to get a look from him and kind of give him the opportunity to show us what he can do. And if those guys are healthy and only racking up losses at the end of the season, that's kind of taking away opportunity from these young guys that have a lot to prove. And I think they are stepping up to the occasion. Even guys like Rodney McGruder tonight finished with 18 points, 5 rebounds, 7 of 14 shooting, 50% from the field, and then 4 of 5 from the 3-point line in 31 minutes. If Alec Burks and Hamidou Diallo and Jaden Ivey are healthy, Rodney's not getting those minutes and not getting this opportunity. And you know what? This is really good for him because he's been riding the bench all season. And I know he's content with that. He knows his role, but it's kind of a momentum builder for him and a confidence booster, something for him to hold his hat on. So yes, these injuries are frustrating, but it's only given opportunity to these guys that need it.
Yeah, and to the point of Rodney McGruder and how he's played recently in this recent stretch of actually getting minutes and playing time, this is actually a perfect situation for Troy Weaver because you're seeing the value just increase game by game for Rodney. And that just gives more of an opportunity to, let's say this offseason, you want to clear a little bit of cap space. You want to get some picks in because we need some extra picks in this year's upcoming draft. So you trade Rodney McGruder for like a couple second round picks. We have cap space open. We allow those picks to either move in other potential deals and bringing key guys in, or you draft a guy like Rodney McGruder that needs time to develop and is younger, and then they slowly build up, and then we got a couple keystone players out of it. Not saying I don't want Rodney McGruder because he's playing amazing, and he's a good guy to come off the bench and be a good role player off the bench. He's a great vet, but just the last couple games, it's increasing in his value to the point where Troy Weaver could easily pull the plug on him and send him and ship him out elsewhere, and somebody would actually want him.
And I totally love the move by Dwayne Casey starting Eugene because he didn't have to. He could have probably put in, for example, Jalen Duren or somebody else at that power forward position, but he decided to put Eugene in and give him 31 minutes. How many G League players get the opportunity at the late end of the season to get 31-minute starter minutes? I mean, that's a great move by Dwayne Casey in a losing season. I love us dealing with these injuries the way we are because we're dealing with it the right way by not just giving Rodney McGruder all the minutes or Corey Joseph all the minutes and giving these older guys all the minutes. They're giving these young guys that need an opportunity. He's giving them exactly what they need because we saw Eugene tonight, 31 minutes. We saw Buddy Boeheim, 22 minutes. And then we saw RJ Hampton, 24. So these guys that typically don't even reach 10 are getting double-digit minutes. And I think that higher up double-digit minutes. And I love that.
I think on Eugene, though, I think from the beginning of the season when he was in the G League, I think Weaver and everybody had an eye on him just in the sense of like, oh, okay, he can kind of play. He kind of fits our mold. And then he becomes available and we move certain guys and open up space. We move Nerlens Noel, which is a key factor in Eugene actually being on the roster. But we move Nerlens Noel out, and then that opens that roster spot. And they're like, you know what? Let's give him a chance because he can play in the G League just fine. And we sign him to the 10-day. And then he's played great every single game he's had. It doesn't matter if he drops 17 or not. He's doing everything. He's a Draymond Green-esque player. That's perfect for us. We haven't had one of those before. And so the fact that Eugene just goes out there and works his tail off every single second and is very unselfish, that's like perfect for our team going forward. And honestly, the 10-day contract is ending very soon. I would not be at all surprised if we was like, yep, I'm signing you to a 2-year deal. Here you go.
Right.
I mean, I would see another 10-day contract getting put on just temporarily just to see what else he does, given that you want to see him have more time there. but I could definitely see a 2-year deal. Given how young Eugene is still and how he's played, he deserves a contract with us. And I want him to be a Piston because he's the perfect guy to come off the bench and give us energy.
Yeah, you know what? And this is kind of a brain starter, like kind of get it rolling around in the brain. But, ever since we got James Wiseman in the trade, I've been worrisome about what Isaiah Stewart's future is with the Pistons. And now that he's made pretty much a transfer to power forward, yeah, they're going to sub him in here and there at center. But now that he's at power forward, we got Bojan Bogdanovic that is locked in long term. He could get moved, but I don't really see it happening. Now that we got a couple power forwards on our team and Eugene's proving to be a solid player, and if we do see a move with Isaiah Stewart, I definitely see Eugene getting picked up for 2 years. I'm really excited to see what that storyline includes because we have so many players that are kind of on the borderline of like, okay, he might hit and he might be really good, or he might be a bust. There's so many of these guys kind of teetering on what their future is. Troy Weaver has some tough decisions to make, and it's really good the position he's in because now behind the scenes, he sees a little bit more than we do. He will kind of make those decisions, not necessarily what's happening on the court because we're losing so much.
Yeah.
He's kind of going to be deciding on what's happening behind the scenes, what's happening on the practice court. And there's going to be some big moves, I think, happening soon. Another thing I wanted to make mention of, when we got James Wiseman in the trade for Saddiq Bey, I made mention about how our offensive rebounding should get drastically better. And we saw RJ Hampton, Eugene, and James Wiseman make an impact on the offensive rebounds. Tonight, we finished with a total of 19 offensive rebounds to the Pacers' 13. Now, the Pacers are a pretty good offensive rebounding team just because of energy guys like Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Smith. Typically, they have Miles Turner, who's historically a very good offensive rebounder. So the fact that we were able to out-rebound by 6 offensive rebounds against a team like the Pacers, I'm very happy with that number because, offensive rebounding is so huge in today's NBA. If you're able to take advantage of missed opportunities, that's great.
Yeah, they have a lot of size in Indiana, a lot. And when we're without Stu, it really hurts us. But you still have Jalen Duren and James Wiseman, who are freaks of athletes and can jump out of the gym, get rebounds for days. And that's perfect. When you have a 7-footer and a guy who's 6'10", that's perfect going up against their size in Indiana. And so, and Wiseman and Duren are I think they're just more physical than the Pacers bigs tonight. Like Jalen Smith is a physical dude. Don't get me wrong. But when you have a 7-footer going up against him, or you have Jalen Duren who is just going to bully you, it's kind of hard for Jalen Smith to get anything done. And then Isaiah Jackson, I love him. Michigan native. We're always going to support you. But there's a reason why he was a late pick. There's a reason for that. And I'm not saying he's bad or anything because he's a very solid player. But when you have a guy like James Wiseman and Jalen Duren, who are highly touted players coming out of high school, they're obviously going to try and do everything in their power to kick the crap out of you. And especially Jalen Duren. And they proved that tonight. So I'm very pleased with our bigs. They did what they were supposed to do. And even Eugene. Eugene is a very small power forward, but he's just big. Right. And he's just going to go down there and bully you all day. And so when you have Eugene even stepping in there, hitting the glass hard, and then you have Wiseman and Duren doing their thing, that's very good against a tall team like Indiana. And honestly, if I would say this tandem of 3 guys could easily out-rebound almost any big tandem in the league.
For sure. Any last takeaways before we start wrapping up today's recap, Ryan?
Ronnie Magruder, man.
Yeah.
You are playing out of this world, and I appreciate it. because you could come in and just suck, because a lot of bench players do that. But you work your tail off nonstop and you put up 18, you shot 50%. Most guys just don't do that coming off the bench after sitting almost half the season or majority of the season. So thank you, Rodney, for always trying your best.
Yeah. And 3 for 3 from the 3-point line too.
Yeah.
I mean, what a shootout. On our Instagram today, I posted an over-under post about James Wiseman having over or under 20 points, and he ended up with 18, which I'm happy with, but under what we were hoping for in the over-under post. Today, we're going to shout out today's correct guesses, and that was Micah 3198 and David Now Parvar. So thank you guys for commenting and guessing correctly. And make sure you follow us on Instagram, because we are doing all kinds of different shout outs, just like we just did for our over under post. You can expect those before every Revved Up recap. And then also, you might have noticed my sweatshirt in today's Revved Up recap. And if you like it, or you're a Pistons fan and you're like, oh, I'm revved up about my Detroit Pistons, make sure to order one of our new sweatshirts. We have a merch drop out with a collab with Grind Clothing Co. So you can find the link to this sweatshirt in the description below and in our YouTube bio. And then also make sure to go follow Grind Clothing Co. on Instagram. We are very happy to partner up with them. They are our very first partnership, and the owner is Ryan. He's a great guy. So make sure to go support Grind Clothing Co. They got all kinds of different designs on their website that are just absolutely fire. So we will see you guys in the next Revved Up recap. Peace.